Okay, we are back live. We can probably get started in about 10 seconds as people filter back in.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the picks and bans, such as they are. Pofke picked the big boys, same as the previous match. Kuma Kid responds with "Eye in the Sky," banning Veranda, and Pofke bans Courtyard 3-5. And that all nets out to we're going to be starting here on Balcony with Kuma Kid as the spy playing Bling Twin whenever you're ready.
I am ready, starting in three, two, one. Planet.
There we go. Right into the Lion's Den, right into Balcony. It can kind of be calming, like High Rise was previously, in that you start off with a soft tail variant, or you can idle a bit. But Balcony, a little different. You still kind of have to rush sometimes. In this case, Kuma Kid does get an early flirt, brings you up to 28%, and that's actually a pretty big deal. On a lot of other venues, that doesn't matter very much. But a weak first flirt on Balcony and having a highlight for an early talk, not a great trade.
Yeah, not a great start for Kuma Kid. Balcony plays kind of like a different beast than most of the other venues.
It's going to be a white test banana bread. No low lights let off. 3 or 4 people talking, one person taking a drink, and that is it. That's about as good as you're going to get, other than a green, really. If you're going to hit a white, you might as well be one of several people who could have done it like that. So, several potential frame targets here. The ST leaves. I think at that point they'd been there long enough that we were hoping for a timer flirt instead. But if they come back right back next to us, it might not be so bad. Kuma Kid is going to go to the other window, I think, to hope. Oh boy, this will work. Seduction target comes to us. That works beautifully. There's a bug attempt in the meantime, though. Ill-advised, and the bullet goes through. That is very unfortunate. I feel like maybe with the weak start you can justify a bug attempt, but surely at that point you notice that your seduction target is coming to you.
That had to have been a misclick, right? I mean, going.
I think so. I think so because so if you get a if you have a bad first flirt on Balcony, if things aren't going well, you might specifically say, "I'm going to bug because this is my only chance of winning." But when you see Alice heading in your general direction, at minimum, you're going to wait and see when they stop next to you. And obviously, she was stopping next to you. That's what you needed to get back in the game. Clearly, not intending to bug there.
Yeah, and I believe that was out of range, right? It didn't take, so possibly a misclick, or most
Yeah,
likely there.
and that game might have been about to switch. We were going to be over 50%. And if we hit a green, possibly one flirt away. And we had so many people talking during that banana bread. We were not top suspect, I don't think, or at least not obviously so. Dramatic little game right there. That's Balcony for you. 50 seconds of absolute game probability win whiplash. Pofke now up 1-0 is playing a Smallman on Balcony. Whenever you're ready to count us in.
Yep, let me just get the portrait here.
It is quite a portrait. He's a very debonair fellow.
Playing in three, two, one. Playing it.
Yeah, I think one of just 2 players in a tux, along with, well, Seek, who is also here and is the seduction target. I see. They have clothing in common at least. That's a good opening line potentially. Pofke's going to bounce off the queen and head to the other window, and we are going to swap spots sort of with our seduction target, bouncing back and forth like 2 ships in the night. At a certain point, you're going to hope to be next to each other. Pofke's going to have to just get in this conversation eventually and hope it works out. We're going to path around the ambassador and not bug, and Kuma Kid is trying very hard to protect it, and that might be credited already because we are Smallman and we were totally invisible behind Taft's bulk. And the seduction target, meanwhile, is messing with briefcases. We don't have a flirt done, and this game has already taken as long as the previous game did to end.
Yeah, perfect bug opportunity there around the back. Sniper was also swinging their camera around and probably would not have been seen.
I think it's tempting. I think at that point you might just want to take it anyway. We're going to get a white test banana bread here. Someone's going to leave during it, and we're the only one talking. That is rough. We are in really rough shape here. A bug might be the only way to get this done now with 50 seconds left, or you pray for a civ shot. Your seduction target is across from you. It barely even makes sense to take the flirt here, I think, and we are now highlit along with queen.
Yeah, I think he's got to fish for the bug to finish at this point.
And you might get another opportunity, especially if the ambo walks by you right here after they put this briefcase down. Big moment of truth coming up. They're probably going to go the other way, though, just based on the available number of spots there. But if they decide to go between Salmon and Seek, that would be your chance. We're being stared at. We go to the other side. We have no options here. It's 30 seconds to the beep beeps have started. No flirt has taken place. I think you're just banking on a shot here or a bug at the very end of the game. Amba goes back to the same spot, and there's no spot that they could take in that conversation that will bring them by you. You have to go rush the bug or hope for a shot, and no shot seems to be forthcoming. Only lowlights are talking. Seek moves. We're going to have to crash bug. Here it goes. And it's visible.
Yeah.
Wow. Our seduction target not accommodating at all. I think that game turned on not taking the bug when we were going to be suspected for it anyway. And Pofke gives it right back. It is 1-1. Kuma Kid, I think, has to be happy with that, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely the seduction target not cooperating put Pofke in a really difficult situation, and only one bug opportunity. And I think at that point Pofke, didn't know that the seduction target was going to be so uncooperative. So,
Yeah.
very unfortunate round there.
Yeah, if
Next
that
round,
happens a little later in the game, I think Pofke probably takes that bug attempt,
right?
probably realizes I'm not going to finish the flirt. But it was right on the line where if the ST is a little more accommodating, we might still have time. It was just getting to the point where it looked like it wasn't going to work out. But hard to tell in that case. Kuma Kid now, Terrace, playing his hair. All the statue missions turned off, as is typical of Terrace. Count us in when you're ready, please.
3, 2, 1, planet.
And here we go. We're going to go. Nope, we're not going to go to bar. We're going to bounce into nothing in particular, I think, and enter this conversation here. And we are going to be under our seduction target, but we're not right next to them. So we're not going to finish this too quick, it doesn't look like. Not that we need to. And as a result, we're taking our time in the flirt, too. Worried about being flirt paired, it would seem. That's a green. That's going to help a little bit anyway, though. 47%. So we're still well on our way for a 3 flirt. Seduction target leaves to go after the briefcase, then immediately redirects. Does not get a low light from Pofke, though. Let's see what Kuma Kid does next. And she does get a highlight, a late one, possibly for the redirect, and then into immediate talk next to Blondo. So early suspect, not much of a highlight probably, though, but caught Pofke's eye at least. Question is, does Kuma Kid know?
Yeah, I think that highlight was for the early talk, leaving the conversation and then talking pretty quickly upon entering the other one.
And might not have seen the redirect either, which was pretty darn good, I would say.
Yep.
If Teal follows Blondo, that would really be something, but doesn't look like it's going to happen now. Kuma Kid not following Teal either, still at 47% and not really in a rush to get finished here.
No, a lot of idling on Terrace here, not getting much mission progress at all.
We're going to BB, and that's going to knock out 2 highlights. Teal and Rocker potentially if Pofke gets them both, and he does. And we are one of just 3 people who could have a reel, too, and those 3 people have accordingly been highlit. Pofke knows what to do. That's a wrong arm bug walking off and immediately shot.
Yep.
Immediately shot. I think this was sort of a wake of the BB, highlights and lowlights are coming off, but it was a little later than those normally are. Pofke all over it.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the timing again real quick on the BB.
Yeah, please. It seemed later than usual if you were trying to cover for it. But that's the thing, right? The meta's always changing. If people do it 5 seconds after a BB, that becomes the new normal, and then 7 seconds becomes the in the wake of the BB, and so on and so forth, until it eventually becomes way too long and flips back over on itself.
Yeah, on such a small venue like Terrace, right, that's also something to account for, is how many lowlights could they potentially be taking? Is it a small amount of guests, large amount of guests? How much time are they going to be spending reacting to the banana bread? With Terrace being so small, he had tons of time to get all of his lights and then look back at the party.
Yeah, especially with those 2. Even basically, you could form a line from one to the other from where the sniper was, too. So easy to get them quickly, resituate yourself in time to see the bug. I don't necessarily mind the decision as a whole, but I think the timing, the execution left a little something to be desired. Pofke now up 2-1, playing as Salmon on Terrace whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1, planet.
And Pofke, as we mentioned, 80% sniper win rate in Silver SCL last season. One of the better snipers in the game, I would say, significantly underpromoted as well in general. One of the, I don't want to say dark horse to take this. Obviously, on paper, you want to look at people like Yish and Noob and say they're the favorites, but Pofke right up there potentially. So if Kuma Kid can win this and hang with them, that would actually really be something for a player, like you said, up and coming like Kuma Kid is, against someone like Pofke, who is so well established. Not really doing anything here either, by the way. We're seeing a lot of idling in the matches today on these 3-5 variants.
Yeah, and I do know that Pofke was saying in the lobby the other day that he feels a little bit rusty or that he needs to play more, so that's something to take into account, is which one of these 2 players has been more active recently. I do see Kuma Kid around playing a lot and Pofke not as much.
And this is something we talk about a lot. Overall experience versus recent experience. Will you take a more experienced player when they're rusty? It's a tough question. It really depends. Here comes the BB. Someone leaves and someone enters as it happens. And Kuma Kid actually gets Blondo, who looks like they did a little stutter step, gets the low light from Blondo and 2 others. Not great, actually. That's a pretty good narrowing down. And that's the first flirt coming off, too, at 25%. Pofke not great here.
Yeah, and he's
We are
cross conversation. He probably needs to leave the conversation and re-enter closer to the ST.
Yeah, if the ST isn't cooperating, like Mr. K was not before in that balcony game, just a stubborn seduction target today. We are, however, two of the tallest characters. At least we're able to look them in the eye, and so is General, for that matter, who's talking between them. We're still at 25%. It looks like we're in a timer flirt, which seems like a strange thing to do across from your ST. If you hit another 25%, then you need a green for the third, and with 145 left, that's probably the situation you're going to be looking at, unless you get busy and start moving around or find a bug or something somewhere. The Ambassador, though, not in a very buggable position. Flirt cooldown has expired, but you can see Pofke not in any rush to take that weak flirt. Really, probably just hoping the ST leaves. You might even want to red flirt them to windows and hope for the best. Aren't too many great options here, though. Pofke behind the 8 ball.
Quick note: Pofke elected to bring Inspect into the mission option, and Fingerprint is off, so that leaves some potential framing if there's any AI that happens to go to 2 statue visits, or Pofke could go for Inspects himself.
And case in point, I think there was a soft low light on Taft that got bumped back up when they went to statues, probably for exactly that reason. The seduction target is at bar, and as we like to say sometimes, when your seduction target is not cooperative, it usually at least means they are busy, which makes them a frame target. We are going to go right next to them right now. We have a chance to get a flirt and act as if they've delegated to us potentially. You might want to do both here. There's the flirt. It's a red flirt instead. Yup. We're going to red flirt our seduction target away so that it looks like they delegated to us and bailed. That's the plan. We're all in on this frame of Seek because the flirt wasn't going well. Here it comes. It's the immediate purloin.
Yeah, beautiful.
Sipping. Beautifully done. The red flirt into delegate. We've seen it attempted a number of times. Doesn't usually work, but in this case, it made the best of a bad situation, and Pofke gets the win.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful recognition by Pofke to go, you know what, I'm behind the curve time-wise. My ST has been busy, like you said, grabs a drink, and I can frame him, and I can make him look even more suspicious by doing the red flirt as a spy, tries to delegate and then leave that area so they're not tied to the person that's taking the guest list. So, very good move by Pofke.
This was a bit of tech I wanted to try out in SEL matches so many times, and then a couple people did it in prominent casts, and I thought, well, that's burned. But if it's used just rarely enough, and when it's done that well, it can still work. And here it absolutely does. Pofke with just an expert level spy move, and you really can't even blame Kumakit for taking the shot. It was done so well. But they're in trouble now, down 3-1 against an unforgiving sniper. But it is pub 3 of 5. Note swap is turned off, pretty standard. Bug as well, which I think is an underrated choice here. Whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1, playing it.
So Purloin is on, Fingerprint is on, in addition to Contact and Inspect. And there are a lot of different combinations you could use to try to finish here potentially with Bug off. And I like the decision because while Bug is normally a very powerful mission that takes up a lot of attention, on Pub against a sniper as good as Pofke, the odds that you're going to get a Bug by are just very, very small. I'd rather have AIs completing one more mission potentially, most of the time.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't think on a lot of these venues, there's a pretty standard meta on mission layout, but pub, there seems to be a bit of flexibility between all of the players.
Yeah, certainly. I think definitely more flexibility than most. And I think leaving Bug off, again, totally based on the quality of the sniper. Against an intermediate sniper, I'm leaving it on. But against a good sniper, and sadly for me, good snipers are pretty much all I play these days, and Pofke is a good sniper, I think you normally want to leave it off and leave your frame options open and your soft tail completion options open. Kuma Kid, stop me if you've heard this one. We have another spy idling on a 3-5 and not getting any flirts done in the first minute or so.
Yeah, we'll
We
see
are
how he reacts to being down, 1 to 3. It's going to be a huge tell. Is he going to go for a mission complete? Is he going to go for some kind of mind game or frame that Pofke just did? And was he affected by that missed shot?
We are just close enough. I was wondering about the distance between us and our seduction target. It is just enough because the green does get us to 50%, and we still have plenty of options here. Hopefully, normally, when you're idling this much on a 3-5, you're scoping out the party quite a bit. You're looking for early frame targets. You're looking for people the sniper might have ruled out. That's another thing against excellent snipers. They can take low lights on things like redirect. So it's not just about who you leave out for the BB or a Purloin or anything like that. You need to see who they could plausibly low light for soft reasons. There's a highlight onto Orange, sorry, for a statue Inspect. And still not a great time to BB here. Kuma Kid probably just waiting for an opportunity. The ST has left in the meantime, but they are doing a briefcase. So there's the double-edged sword I mentioned. ST not flirtable, but is doing something mission related. That's the trade normally.
A little bit of a weird stop on the bar. That was possibly Kuma getting stuck facing kind of sideways on the pad there, and then possibly readjusted to land and have his character turn. But that looked a little bit weird. I don't know if Pofke noticed it though.
Walking tends to get harder after the drink, not before, but we do get a fingerprint off it instead. We're half done with the flirt, and it looks like we're going to go for a difficult fingerprint to finish the mission, but we're going to sit there and do the AT while the ambassador's not even moving, and we're going to sip into the fingerprint. The difficult is hit. That's significant. I actually think it's a bit of a giveaway, though, because it's easier to hit the difficult, the action test, while you're not moving, and they waited a very long time before doing anything, even though the ambassador was not moving at the time, I don't think. But fingerprint is done with with one normal fingerprint, one difficult, half the flirt. We are not next to our seduction target, even though a spot was open next to them. Very interesting. We cannot two flirt here with 40 seconds left. So what's the plan? The fingerprints indicate we want to finish, but the position in that conversation says otherwise. The flirt comes off. It's only 77% now total. Double agent is getting into this conversation. You have to BB here, but I don't know if you're going to get away with it. The delegate timer expires, but we weren't going to use it anyway. It's going to have to BB, and you're not going to be able to flirt, I don't think. BB has still not come off. What are we waiting for?
Banana bread.
There it goes. Knocks out 2 highlights. Teal and Sorry. We have not been shot, though, so we're not that suspicious yet, even though we've got the fingerprint done. ST moves, and so do we. We are across from them. What is up with this positioning? We're making it so hard on ourselves. We're going to leave, redirect, and run out of time. I think it's almost as if they expected a window pad there by the curb.
I think that was Kumakid just saying, I lost.
Wow. There were so many opportunities late in that game. When you got away with the BB, that was your chance, because they can't possibly be confident that you're not done with the flirt unless they're tracking it perfectly at that point. You had a chance to stand next to your seduction target, and then when the seduction target left, which is exactly what you needed to salvage the game, you had a chance to enter next to them, and yet you entered across.
Yeah, that
and
looked...
even from there, wouldn't a green test still do it there? Because these are small. This is the small conversation on pub. I think a green test would still do it. You can still flirt from there.
Right. Yeah, it looked like a round of Kumakid kind of plan A, maybe a frame, plan B, a mission complete, but just didn't give himself enough of an opportunity to actually get the mission complete. Was putting a little bit too much idling, like you were saying, taking a little bit too long on the briefcase, a little bit too long to BB, a little bit less of kind of the idling there, and he definitely could have had at least 3 missions complete and hit countdown at the end.
Yeah, the main thing is, can you get one flirt done during your initial minute of idling, potentially? That gives you options in the late game. Entering next to your seduction target after that briefcase thing, that would have done it too, potentially. The fact that we weren't shot for the BB means that that Pofke was not willing to credit Kumakid for being done with the fingerprints. We got
Right.
one off bar, and we got a difficult off the briefcase. That was enough. At that point, we were in a very solid position, and obviously would have gotten away, I think, with one more talk. But no, 4-1 Pofke now. Very winnable game from Kumakid. Down the drain. Same mission setup, though, for Pofke. Bug off, swap off, playing as Teal whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1, planet.
Oh, now Kumakid really up against the wall and had a chance to really bring it back there with a big spy win. That is a huge missed opportunity, unfortunately. But a pretty good game all told, though, until the very end. That difficult fingerprint made a win very, very likely. Pofke kind of following the same playbook. We could not look less like a spy right now, other than standing across from someone in an empty conversation in the front of pub. And look at this, by the way. Smallman is a suspected double agent. Not the real double agent, of course. Not too many people making Smallman a double agent on purpose, but sometimes you draw the short straw, so to speak, and Smallman is a cast member and ruled out as a suspect on a venue where he would normally be plenty suspicious. We're going to walk right by the ambassador and not a Bug, and we don't have a flirt done in the first minute. What is going on?
Bug is
What
off.
is going on? Yes, certainly. But we did cast a game last season where someone seemed to forget that Bug was off after a path by the ambassador and shot them shortly afterwards, because it is normally left on. So every now and then it does work out that way. But what I'm more concerned about right now is we once again do not have a flirt in the beginning of the game.
True. Yeah, absolutely. And that was my problem starting out in this game with playing venues where some of the missions were turned off. I found it very hard to not watch those missions, even if they were off.
Yes. And that's not certainly take away from Kumakid, because I do it myself, certainly. And Bug is one of them, because Bug is something you have to be watching for constantly. And the muscle memory is hard to shake. But I'm going to give Kumakid credit and say they probably are not suspicious of Pofke for doing a mission that is not on. There's our first flirt. It's 50% with almost exactly 2 minutes left on the clock. And there again, those small conversation circles strike. It's an underrated part of pub, but you can afford to stand across from your seduction target sometimes and still get a very good flirt off, potentially. There we go. ST leaves almost immediately afterwards, and there's no good way to enter that conversation without a little risk of bouncing off it. And we're all the way over there, and by the time you get there, they might have left again. So playing a little hard to get, to say the least, and we really don't have that many options now. But we're probably watching these statue visitors. There's Queen with a highlight, and there's Duke there, the fellow with the sash, the fancy-looking gent, picking up a highlight for a potential fingerprint, it looks like. Pofke is going to chase all the way across the venue. Nope, does not want to try to squeeze in there, probably wisely. Goes to window instead and gets a highlight for it, strangely enough.
Hmm.
And that Ponytail left a spot open for the flirt, but the ambassador quickly fills it. The conversation is full again. Pofke is going to continue biding time at this window, and the ambassador is indeed going to leave, and you can now go flirt, but I think you're obligated to take this briefcase, maybe? Oh, it's right on the line. The ambassador was pretty far away when it happened. You're certainly going to have to take it when you leave, except, nope, Salmon's going to beat you to it. I think we might have been obligated to take it even on entry there, but it's not noticed. We are, however, taking a very long time to get this flirt done, which means you're going to need the green, and we do get the green. We were banking on it with 45 seconds left, and the ST leaves right afterwards. It happens just in time. The flirt is done. You can rush BB and inspect, but it's going to be suspicious if you do.
We do have the opportunity to get the fingerprinted statue that the ambassador's picking up. Unfortunately, the briefcase was just taken, so there's no second available.
Yeah, we're just running low on time, and I don't think you could time it at this point and get away with it. There are several highlights, though. I don't know if they're going to do anything that's actually going to help you, though. There's going to be a BB. It's a fake, but you have to do it. Smallman, Rocker is the only person who could have a reel there. And
She has a
Kuma Kid
highlight.
looks like they're holding. Yep, she has a highlight. She has a highlight, but Kuma Kid, there we go. They show no intention of shooting. There's another fake, and that's just desperation. 4 seconds left. You're going to wait for overtime beeps, and they're not going to happen, which means the game is going to end. It's a hold for Kuma Kid to keep their hopes alive. 4-2. Very impressive patience from the intermediate player.
Yeah, that's great patience against a spy like Pofke. You're very enticed to take a shot because someone of Pofke's caliber typically is not timing out.
Yeah, and that highlight very interesting too. Highlighting for going to windows, it looked like. Certainly helped keep them on the radar. Pofke made the right choice. I'm not going to finish. Just got to get this BB off and hope something happens. Once it did, once the shot didn't come off, that was it. Kuma Kid gets credit for the hold. Now playing as Wheels on Gallery, down 4-2. Whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1, planet.
Very big win for Kuma Kid. Now we're just a spy win away potentially from tying this back up once you get to the sniper side. Nothing's a sure thing there, but this is the harder one here. There's an early redirect heading towards green bookshelves, and we are maybe chasing our seduction target around, just like the previous game. Seduction targets, not very pliable in today's matches, but we are going to catch up to them just in time here. It's going to be a white test on a painting pad, 34% on the flirt. You'll take it early on Gallery, but we know flirts on Gallery can have a way of getting you, and that's with spies that we've seen have trouble finishing flirt even on much smaller venues.
Redirect off of blue books there as Boots took the spot. Not sure if Pofke's looking for that though.
Yeah, possibly not. And we are going to get in next to our seduction target again. And Kuma Kid, I imagine, has seen too many spies fail to finish seduce on Gallery. It's going to be another white test, but the fact that we have 68% done already puts us in very good position. We can now focus on other things for a while, knowing we're just one close flirt away, even a white test, from finishing that mission. That really frees you up to do other things and start planning. And that's the case. Kuma Kid is going to go back to Green's bookshelves after having to redirect away from it the first time. We're going to stick with our game plan, which I presume is a microfilm, because you have a lot of cover here and you're low to the ground as this character. This microfilm can be close to free, except that a good sniper knows that and might credit it.
Yeah, and unfortunately Disney leaves our covered spot there.
Yeah, we still had a bit of cover, but Kuma Kid's not going to do anything with it. Also not going to squeeze back in there and try to get a flirt done. Are we going to take this book all the way outside? This would be a long way to go for half a microfilm, if that is indeed the plan. We are all the way out here. Time ad looking more plausible with 2 minutes left. Are we cleaning this book? Are we going to put it in blue after all this?
I have a feeling he's not going to action test because he took the green book and then walked down the blue side of the map, right? As to say to the sniper, hey, look, I'm coming from blue.
Yep, and does a green time ad there with the green book out front. You could see the plan now unfolding. It was a question before. And no, they're thinking we're going to go back to green because I have the time back. All that time I wasted doing all that, I just got it back, and now I'll get credit for going back to the same shelf at least. The head turn is a little visible, but Pofke is zooming out as it happens. It's a green test as well, so there's not much margin to catch it if you're not staring at it, and they weren't. Half of microfilm is done. And if we're not suspected for the time ad, we probably lost a little suspicion there for doing half of a hardtail.
I like the action test on the return. Fairly underutilized. I don't think a lot of spies do that. They usually just microfilm and put it right back. They don't take it out and then come back and microfilm.
You're absolutely right. Usually because it's a lot of time, but the time ad made up for it. So if you get away with a time ad, that's the move, and it works very well. But green is the easier of the two, to say the least. Blue, much more exposed most of the time, unless that painting pad in front of it fills up. There are plenty of statue visitors in the meantime, and hopefully Kuma Kid is taking note of who is going to be on the sniper's radar, because they're going to have to time that microfilm like we saw Magic Doer do in the previous match. We are now going to be going to blue, and there's not much cover here. It is going to be a fingerprint, though. That's why we're rushing it.
Hmm.
We do hit the action test on the fingerprint. It's a difficult. There we go. Kuma Kid again, favoring the difficult fingerprints. Although Pofsky certainly noticing from that replay earlier, I would think that it did indeed happen, and maybe looking out for it now. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the book all the way out front. And are we going to do another time ad to make up for it, or are we going to try to cut this really close?
And it does look like Kuma left the blue bookcase fairly quickly to try and get to that briefcase before Smallman grabbed it. Unfortunately, Smallman took it from us.
Here we go. And the spot opens up next to the double agent right as we're about to leave, and that is perfect because now we can get a mission done, distract from the book, put more action, more things to remember between our book leave and the book putback that's almost certainly coming up. 40 seconds left. We might have to time ad anyway, because even when we dump it, what else are we going to do? Another fingerprint? You don't want to be at the mercy of the party like that. We're going to check our watch but not add time. And we're going to read the book out front. Here comes the microfilm. Sniper is zoomed in. It's completely off screen. It's a white, but it doesn't matter. But are we going to finish anyway? Putting it back is not going to induce a shot. Contact is already done. We're going to have to bug or fingerprint as we put it back. And even then, we're barely going to have time. The ambassador is walking almost alongside us. Where are they going to go could determine the whole game. They're walking away from us now. We're going to dump this book, and we're not going to have time no matter what we do. The game is going to end unless the Civ gets shot. It's not possible. And we get shot
And the
anyway.
quick return. Yeah.
And the shot it's not perfectly rational there at that point, because the book putback is at 2 seconds, which means you can wait for overtime, certainly. But really, that game was lost when you didn't time out front there at the end.
Yeah, again, we see that Kumakit is having some pacing issues, which is, I think, a big problem we see on Gallery altogether, and especially from players that are not extremely experienced. That's one of the kind of first obstacles to overcome as a mid-level player, is figuring out pacing and ensuring that you don't run out of time.
Yeah, and the pacing issue was actually more significant than it seemed, because, as you remember, they took the book all the way outside twice, and the only reason it didn't hurt them earlier in the game is because they coupled it with a green time ad, which is a hard thing to bank on and something you can get caught for anyway. It worked perfectly this time, but the fact that we ran out of time even with the green time ad shows that it is actually very, very hard to complete microfilm in that way. The venue is just not the right size or shape, or the amount of time you get on it, 345 in this case, is just really tough. And frankly, it's tough for expert spies as well. Either way, back now against the wall, Pofsky has 5 chances here to score at least a tie up 5-2, playing as a plane twin whenever you're ready.
Heading in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Here we go. And Kuma Kid has played now, I think, 2 spy games where they got away with the hardest things to get away with. They got through the tough part of the game, but didn't quite finish in time. And that shows me that the basics of the spy game are really solid there. A lot of good meta decision making. And that once you kind of get that timing, that sort of in your bones timing that comes with just more and more games played, more calendar days playing the game, stuff like that. Once you get that, you can go from being a pretty good spy to a great spy very quickly, because the hard part, so to speak, is done for Kuma Kid as a player and in these individual games. There's a BB, by the way, and a green flirt, and that's going to knock out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lowlights. That is above average for Gallery.
Yeah, quite a bit of lowlights there. Questionable banana bread, but still enough neutral lights to pull through with a spy win, I think.
The main thing is that the conversation wearing and the one in the back are both relatively full. So you've left the number of people who could have a reel, you've left that group very, very big still. So not too looking pretty good here overall, though. We have half the flirt already done and the BB. And the BB is no joke. It can be hard to get even a decent BB late in the game if you wait, the same way the flirt is difficult if things don't line up. We get a white test and immediately bail afterwards, it looks like, because we want to keep moving. Pofsky knows about the perils of Gallery, and if they didn't, they just got a reminder in that previous game's replay. 85% on the flirt. Contact done, and we're going to blue bookshelf next. We have made a lot of progress for 2 minutes left, but Gallery can get away from you very quickly. We're going to get marked probably for that fingerprintable book. That seems to be the case here. So Kuma Kid is all over this, which means getting away with fingerprint would be very tough. Even though Popke's made good progress overall, I think a second fingerprint might get them shot.
Yeah, only one of two highlights. We're not in a great position to start, though we've still got a bit of time left on the clock.
We are next to the other twin, but we're the highlight one. That's not the half of the equation you want to be on. Probably looking around for fingerprint opportunities here. The ambassador, you'll note, is not holding a briefcase. And we go shoulder to shoulder with them, but do not bug. Again, giving the sniper a lot of credit, spending a lot of time around the ambassador without bugging and hopefully not being caught or credited with a bug. And that seems to be the case here. Poppy's going to go back to blue bookshelf.
This is a good
And
option for us because we're going back to the same bookshelf, which from the sniper's perspective looks innocent and kind of like a waste of time unless there's the flirt pairing.
yep, and there it is indeed. And I don't think we're flirt paired. The flirt is done. Contact is done. One fingerprint is done. But how are we going to finish? I don't think you're going to want to inspect twice at the end of this. You're probably looking at bug and fingerprint or fingerprint and purloin, maybe one distracting from the other, something like that. It's not clear what Popke wants to do, but there's 1 minute left. The hard part isn't done yet, and we are, it looks like, a pretty big suspect for that fingerprint, too. Think we're a bit in trouble here, too, especially given the patience Kuma Kid showed in that pub game. I don't think you're going to be able to bank on a sieve shot here. It seems they have pretty good control of the party thanks to the 6 early lowlights.
Ambassador almost took a drink, leaving a fingerprint for us, and then leaves and doesn't take it, unfortunately. I wonder if Pofke felt the highlight at the blue books for the fingerprint and now knows that he can't finish it.
That might be it. And now we are at the green shelf, and I'm not really sure what the plan here is anymore. There's not that many ways to finish. There's only 27 seconds left. Kuma Kid again seems to have great command of the party. We're going to have to bug and dump or something here. We have the green bookshelf. I can't imagine it's going back into green. Is Pofke really going to be resigned to just timeout again, like they did on pub? We're dumping in blue, and look at that. Kuma Kid puts their laser where Pofke's head is going to be when they get there. That's how much they were watching that. Could not have been more obvious from the sniper side. Pofke had a pretty darn good start to that game and looked like they might have been in a winning position with about 2 minutes left, but just idle a little too much. The fingerprint opportunities didn't come in, and again, Kuma Kid just seemed to have really good control of that party with a half dozen early lowlights.
Yeah, and we see that Pofke had the early lead, but it really feels like it's starting to shift a little bit with Kumikid kind of clawing his way back in on the scoreboard, taking some good wins here.
Yeah, that's 5-3 by my count, if I'm not mistaken. And just hanging with a good player. No shame in it here. You're still just one big spy win away from getting right back in this, but you have to do it on Modern of all places. However, in this tournament, it's 4-8, not 5-8, which gives you a sporting chance. Kuma Kid playing as Teal whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1, playing it. Yeah, Modern 4 of 8 feels very different than 5 of 8. You don't have to be as active. The sniper doesn't get those easy highlights for activity, and it just gives you a little bit more options. It feels winnable as spy now.
Yep, we're going to go for an early statue visit. And really, the dynamics of all the missions change now that it's 4 instead of 5, potentially. That is a green inspect, not that it matters that much. We're going to get 2 done here. And look at these early highlights coming off. It looks like Pofke is particularly worried about early bar visitors and early book grabs. That's what General, the seduction target, has. He has an early book, and we are a little worried about that. But it looks like bar visitors for the other ones. We'll see if that continues. Kind of all over the place, though. It's a bit of a mix, which is always risky on a party of this size. There's the first flirt. It's a white test, 34%, 3 minutes left on the clock, and partial progress on 2 soft tells already.
I like these highlights by Pofke. I think the general line of thinking is that spies typically don't want to start at statues because most people assign suspicion to statues. Obviously, Kumikid either wasn't thinking about it or saw right through it. But overall, I like the highlights by Pofke, even though they're incorrect.
Yeah, sometimes you do the right thing and it doesn't work out. You're playing the percentages. It makes sense. Kuma Kid, though, doing the atypical, counterintuitive thing, and it seems to be paying off so far because there are a number of early highlights, 4 of them total, and we are not one of them with partial progress across 2 missions already. Looks like we're going to try to get the BB done here. It's a decent time to do it if we let maybe 1 or 2 more people get into conversation here.
Yeah, hopefully Kumikid was looking at all of those statue visitors early and people at all of the mission sites because right now it's a perfect time to BB. We've got what, 1 person out Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you won't get a better banana bread than that. And now, with the partial progress across those two soft tails and this one done, Kuma Kid is in a very, very good position. We're still going to have to find something like a fingerprint or a hardtail, but it's modern. If you pace yourself well, if you pick a good spot on the bug or the microfilm, it's very hard to catch them for just that when you're not even on their radar and you have these other highlights to look at. General's been idling this whole time with his book, though, so probably not as much of a suspect as he used to be. We get another flirt done. It's 84% now. Would have been really nice to finish that up potentially a little quicker and rush something else. But we're going to have to finish it eventually instead. We're going to have to finish it at a normal time, probably. Not taking anything for granted, Kuma Kid is moving around a lot more this time. Doesn't want to time out again.
Moving around a good bit, a minute 30 left on the clock, which is actually not that much time considering we have to figure out our fourth mission here. Inspect swap is obviously an option. Fingerprint seems a little bit too late to start.
Yeah, this is. I totally agree. Unless if you try to start fingerprint now, you're basically hoping the party just kind of hands it to you, gives you a free one, gives you an easy one. We're going to be at statues here again. We're going to get that inspect done, and yeah, Kuma Kid's just saying if something's not lining up, I'm going to go make something happen. I'm going to make progress constantly. Want to make sure that I finish, if nothing else. Especially the fact that you've timed out twice. Maybe you're thinking Pofke will hold that shot late.
Wow.
Instead, shoots Taft as a green swap is pending, and that's Modern 4-8. That's a shot that would never happen on 5-8 because you're not going to assume they got two things by you. But in this case, you're thinking if they're done with Inspect, if they're done with BB, if I haven't narrowed the party down, I might have missed a bug. That's all it would take. A Civ gets shot. I don't know about that swap decision, but it's okay. It looks like we were going to go finish the flirt while it was happening. Boy, I don't know. I would have loved to have seen what was going to happen, but now we'll never know.
I'd like to highlight that when the banana bread went off, the one person that was outside of conversation was Taft.
No, no. Oh, that's brutal. And the crazy thing is too, if you're Kuma Kid, there's no way you can expect that because it's the one person you're definitely not trying to frame or trying to get shot. That's Spy
Absolutely.
Party for you sometimes. Kuma Kid, though, once again, for the third time, was playing a very solid spy game and was right up against the clock at the end of that one. I was really curious to see if they were going to be able to bring it home. They certainly seem determined to this time, but you'll take it. You'll absolutely take it because now you are sniping on Modern, albeit 4-8, for a tie against Pofke. Great position to be in given how this started. Pofke playing as Seek whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1, planet.
And again, Modern would normally feel like a really easy opportunity to tie this up, but again, it's 4 of 8, and that's probably why that shot came off, too. We're going to go to Bar early with the Ambassador and Smallman and Wheels. And here comes a cast member, too. It's a bit of a pileup. Poor Toby. The work never ends. Who's going to get that fingerprint? Oh, we are going to demand, I think? I'm pretty sure that was a demand to get the fingerprint, and Kuma Kid is all over it. Once again, Kuma Kid highlight Pofke for a fingerprint on bookshelf on gallery. And I wonder if Pofke noticed that from the replay, because you'd have to imagine they might not want to do this again, given that Kuma Kid is clearly tracking those fingerprints.
Yeah, fingerprint complete. We do take the briefcase as well.
Yeah, that's boom, boom, just like that. The question is, will the sniper just kind of track the one? Will it occur to them that it happened in quick succession, or are they going to be waiting for a second fingerprint? It would be easy to credit them with the first fingerprint and then sort of stop thinking about it for a moment, not realize they're going for a second already. But I think Kuma Kid's probably on it. That's a white test flirt for 30%. Fingerprint is done. Seduce a third of the way done. And again, it's 4-8. So we can inspect, seduce BB for the win from this point forward. And even if you've tracked those prints, boy, isn't that a tough shot to take for Kuma Kid?
A little bit of idling here by Pofke. I'm surprised he's not taking the opportunity now to go over to that second statue, sip the drink, flirt, pick up, and then get your inspect on. And it looks like he's gonna do just that, just a little bit
Might be.
late.
And it looks like our selection target is going to wait just long enough. If they just one cycle, that would not have worked. I think just a tiny bit of indecision, but the problem is if you don't do it immediately, suddenly you start to think, is it too late? Should I bother going at all? And then that makes you wait a little bit longer, and it snowballs. But in this case, bets on a second statue cycle from the AI and does indeed get it. And you're right, partial progress across several missions there. You can't resist that. Even if you'd planned to go statueless, I think you can't resist that. I think
Yeah,
you
that's
have to do it almost.
such a high value option that is, unless your flirt paired, is not assessed correctly by the sniper. Pofke
Yes.
also may have been waiting for a neutral idle animation before leaving to go over to that statue. I wasn't really looking at it.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And you also get rid of the drink in your hands without having to time it properly into a conversation idle too. So there's a lot of benefits there potentially. And Pofke gets all of them. Seduce is up to 81%. We need one more inspect to finish. The fingerprint is already done, and we got it done so early that maybe it will be forgotten by the time the game is over. There's a BB. That is not as good as the last games, but how many are? But it is almost as good. Tremendous. Look at this. A lot of people still in, and we just need an inspect and a bad flirt, and we are done. Great position for Pofke right now. It would be quite a turnaround if Kuma Kid can salvage this game as sniper.
Yeah, great position. I do think that Pofke should go for the inspect first with a flirt finish. With
Agreed.
Pofke going over to get the seduce, it means that he's going to be visiting statues with under probably 45 seconds left, which could produce a shot from Kumikid, especially with that early fingerprint finish.
Especially with the early fingerprint finish. And if the sniper feels like they don't have very good control of the party, they're thinking, you know what are the odds I'm going to catch them red-handed? Not very high. So maybe I'm just going to go for this. Feels like standard spy timing. Pofke leaves in the middle of a talk animation as well, and it was very, very on screen. Kuma Kid's going to have a tough shot here to take, but the timing is, again, so suspicious. The only other character at statues this late is a low light. There's the inspect. Kuma Kid's thinking about it, takes the shot. What a shot. Wow. Pofke seemed like they had that all wrapped up, but Kuma Kid takes the shot, remembers the fingerprint, presumably, and we are tied 5-5.
Yeah, great shot. Unfortunately for Pofke, the other highlights were doing nothing but sitting in a conversation, not really getting much done. And I think the fatal error by Pofke there is doing flirt and then into inspect. If he had reversed those, it would be a much tougher shot for Kumikit to take.
I think you're right. I think there's a decent chance Kuma Kid was totally on the fingerprint and that it's a spy shot either way, but I think you're right in that would have maximized the chance at least, certainly. But whatever the specifics, it's 5-5. Kuma Kid has won 3 in a row, and their spy games have been getting steadily better, I dare say, and some of them have been very, very close to finishing. Now the pacing is going to matter a lot, plenty. On Library, we're playing as Leopard whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1, planet.
And any win now gets you at least a tie. Kuma Kid in a good position, something they probably would have taken against someone of Pofke's caliber in this group, one of the favorites of the tournament, as I mentioned. That's an early white flirt behind the pillar, 34%. We're going to stop talk. It is a correct stop talk, and we're also behind the pillar, and it's also Library. So fair enough. Fair enough. I know, I'm excited too, just like the dog. How could you not be? It's thrilling, really. I'm just going to say that was Olive. That's the queen's dog. That's what it is.
Yeah, that was Olive.
That was Olive. It's Olive. She just sounds far away for some reason. The mic is near the sniper. That's what it is. So it looks like we're going to try to timer flirt here, potentially. Nope. Just as I say that, they make me look silly and walk away. They did waste about 20 seconds there first, though, for whatever reason. We're going to be on blue bookshelf, and we're going to walk away with that very quickly. I feel like Pofke has to notice. We are seen leaving the blue bookshelf, though, so not a good sense of exactly how far they are because they were watching the ambassador around the center of the venue and Toby closer to the far right. So we are seen leaving blue, but we are not seen taking it quickly, if that makes sense. We're going to get another flirt in the meantime, too. Kuma Kid keeping very busy. Again, seems to have learned the lesson from those early timeouts in these last 2 games, has been mercurial, bouncing from pad to pad. We have a blue book, and the flirt is 2/3 done already.
Yeah, Kumikid now cutting time precisely when he needs to with some of the stop talks while the laser's on the other side of the party, the quick book take, which is a little bit of a risk, but like you said, it seems like he can tell that he needs to pick up the pace a little bit on some of these little details here to not time out.
I love to see that in-match adjustment. That's what I like to see. That's what a good player does. They adjust as the match goes on. They notice what their opponent's doing, and they notice what they could be doing better. And that's what's been happening too. And you're right, cutting time where it doesn't hurt them. Stop talks, idle animation breaks on Library, things like that you can afford to get away with, where respecting that etiquette is actually what can lose you the game if you do it too much when it's not going to get noticed anyway. We still have a blue book, but we are not putting it back in blue, and it's been so long, it doesn't feel like we're going to. Question is, do we put it back now, or do we put some more distance between us and that blue book take? It looks like we really want to finish this flirt first. Salmon does indeed stop in a conversation. It looks a little suspicious to be alone next to them on Library like this, but it's not too bad. Oh, Pofke brings them on screen just as they talk and bail. Just a time to see it. That could put them in big, big trouble. I don't think they were on the radar before, but that was super, super visible. We are bouncing all around now. What's it going to be next? The seduce is done. Are we going to put this in yellow now? Bouncing again. Back we go. We are all over the place. We are pinballing across Library. We're going to end up in green shelf. Let's see if Pofke notices.
Moment of truth.
It's a big moment, yeah. I think that stop talk thing might have finally Might have finally gotten them specifically. Yep, there it
Yeah.
is. As soon as we put it back, Pofke smartly realizing I don't have to rush this shot, I'm pretty sure, but let's give the party a few more seconds to talk me out of it. It doesn't. And now Pofke guaranteed at least a tie. Kuma Kid, though, can get the same by sniping on Library. Still a good position to be in against Pofke.
I'm gonna review
Playing.
that stop talk. Yeah, I wanted to catch it from the sniper
Take a look.
perspective. In the when I was casting it, it was from the spy perspective, so I wanted to take a look and see how on screen it was, and it was fairly obvious. You
Yeah.
definitely want to find ways to cut time, but not that much.
Yeah, it's a little more noticeable because you're the only two people in the conversation, too,
Right.
certainly. And the other person in this case was a highlight. I think it works a lot better in groups, in large conversations, certainly. And the only saving grace is that it's on screen on the far end of the sniper's view, right when they whip over. Your eyes kind of have to find their center of gravity when you whip around like that. So there often something will be on screen just when the sniper has brought it into view and it's not actually noticed because the eyes aren't there yet. However, when you are moving to the right, your eyes are drifting to the right with it. When you're moving to the left, same thing. So the thing seen on the edge of the screen in the direction you're moving is usually the thing you're most likely to notice if you notice anything. I don't know if that was it or if they just remembered the book. Whatever it was, that's a very necessary win for Pofke, who actually has a chance to survive this with a full win as Spy on Library whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1. Planet.
This could all be for naught for Kuma Kid. Again, tiebreakers do matter, and it's hard to be upset with a potential 7-5 loss to Pofke, but you could still be looking at a loss after all this, after down 5-2. But you just need to win a sniper game on Library, which you should be able to do most of the time. Pofke, heck of a spy, though. Gonna grab a yellow book and bail, and it was completely off screen.
Some interesting highlights from Kumikit on the far right side of the venue. He highlights all of the people on that small pad, possibly thinking that there's some characters flirting there.
Yeah, it's a reasonable guess. Sometimes you don't have a good sense of who went where, but you're thinking, what are the odds that one of these people is the spy flirting? And they're usually pretty decent. It's a decent little gambit, but in this case, I don't know. You might want to play it straight because this game means everything. And so far, Pofke hasn't tried anything too crazy or too aggressive. Both spies have been actually pretty solid and not too over the top. For the most part, Pofke has a flirt in the meantime while I was talking, 34%. That's a white test, and we're going to go chase Taft, who is our seduction target. Try to get another one. This one is also white. We're not quite as close, 66%, which means we're going to have to be really, really close to this fellow for the last one, or we're going to have to hit a green. But with more than 3 minutes left, there are going to be plenty of opportunities. But it wasn't flirt that you were worried about in the first place. Toby offers a drink. Doesn't seem like a great time to purloin. We're very much on screen, and it is indeed rejected after a few seconds. Probably going to timer flirt here. Nope, we're not. Again, very strange. We've seen spies wait about half of the flirt timer and then leave many times today.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you wouldn't just leave. If you plan on leaving, just go immediately.
Yeah. Not leaving instantly. You could still make an argument for not leaving instantly, but usually within 5 to 10 seconds, you get most of the benefit. Those extra 10 seconds usually just serve to kill more time, especially on Library. But what do I know? These spies seem to be playing pretty well overall, so maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Regardless, it has bit them on the timing a couple times today, and it could here too. 2.5 minutes left. Speaking of which, white time ad, Pofke realizing they're running low on time. Let's see if they got away with it. Is there any reaction on the sniper side? Do we get any lowlights at all? Do we get any highlights at all? The sniper is not even moving. I think they're too busy watching the guest list and the ambassador, and I think we might have gotten away with that. We have the blue book now, by the way. We bailed earlier with the yellow book, and we ended up putting it back. We just have the blue book now. Very strange here from Pofke. It looks like they are trying certain things, sensing the moment is not right, and then calling an audible. This does not feel like Pofke's game plan to me when they started this game.
Yeah, it feels like he's improving a lot of this and not quite sure what he wants to do as his 5 missions.
And that's okay because there are five. Low light on Queen, possibly for inactivity. And they might have picked a good time for it because look at this. There's 5 highlights, and Kuma Kid seems to be looking at them quite a bit. So it's entirely plausible that Pofke doesn't actually need to do anything here other than not give themselves away. We still have the blue book. We're going to go into this conversation here on the far side. I think so we want to see where our seduction target ends up. Want to see where they go next rather than rush a flirt next to them where they might leave. Here we go. Seduction target walking away, and it really doesn't feel like anything is lining up for Pofke here. This blue book would look more like an insurance policy if we had more mission progress, but right now, it just looks like a plan gone awry.
Absolutely. And I wasn't looking from the Pofke's perspective, but does it look like he's following the ambassador, looking where the ambassador's dropping fingerprints, or mostly ignoring it?
Well, it looks like he was ignoring it before, but the ambassador is on screen from Pofsky's perspective now. It looks like they
Yep.
were heading towards yellow, but saw two people there already and didn't want to cram in. And we're spacing things out so much right now. I just don't see how we're going to finish. We're going to have to bank on a civ shot. But again, there are still several potential high-profile suspects. I'm not sure Seek has moved though in quite a while. So at this point, Kuma Kid has shown a lot of patience. If they are staring at these people, there goes Seek gets bumped back down to neutral light, probably for that inactivity I mentioned, but it only takes one. The microfilm is put back in yellow now. We have spent a lot of time on that microfilm, taking a yellow book, putting it back, taking a blue book. There's another time ad. This one's green. We get the heck out of there real quick. And Kuma Kid's going to notice it probably in just a second. They have to be on guard after the first one, I would think, but sometimes you don't expect a second because who would do that? Pofsky seems to understand that mission complete is not likely to be the way, and if it is, they're going to need that extra time. But it still doesn't feel like that's what's going on. It feels like they want to get someone shot.
And Kuma paused for just slightly a little bit longer than normal, both when Pofsky landed on the yellow book and when Pofsky put it away and was walking away. So possibly a little bit of suspicion there.
Yep, and we are going to BB split right into center statues. Is it going to really be inspect swap and then finish while the green is pending? And Kuma Kid zoomed in on that statue, very worried about this. There's the inspect. It is done. Are we going to swap? We are not. We are not. Kuma Kid is thinking about it, does not shoot. The statue is revealed just in time to be the same as when they entered. A swap would obviously not have worked there. Pofsky makes the right decision because Kuma Kid was all over it based on that suspicious timing. From the sniper's perspective, there are 40 seconds left. From the spy's 55. They are in this conversation now, trying to finish the seduce. The seduction target has left, though. We are all over the place, and we're going to need a fifth mission anyway. It's going to be tough. I still think it's going to require a civ shot or another time ad very soon. The ambassador is sitting there across from us. Pofsky is eyeing them up. There are so many ways to finish, but I'm not sure any of them are good. Seduction target comes to the nearby window. We can go flirt and then maybe rush a bug. Here comes the flirt. It's a white test, but we are not close enough.
Oh my.
96%. We need a mission and a flirt. The seduction target heads into the same conversation as the ambassador, though. We could do both. A low light is at center statues, and Kuma Kid is rethinking the low light by staring at them. They're very, very worried about this low light. I don't think they remember what they were low light for. Pofsky is totally off screen. Seduce is done. Fingerprinting the briefcase. How are we going to finish? We need one more fingerprint. The Amba is at statues now. Being stared at. We're bugging. We're bugging. It's off screen. It's off screen. Oh, that's going to be it. Overtime. Not looking at the spy at all. Here it comes. Shoot any highlight on the screen. It's general. I can't believe Pofsky got that done with a superfluous fingerprint to win the match.
Yeah, a heck of an ending. A little bit of panic, I think, by Pofsky at the end there, but Kuma Kid not guarding the ambassador at the end of the countdown there is a fatal mistake.
It absolutely is. It's understandable. There's a lot to guard, and it was kind of maybe panicky on both sides just a little
Yep.
bit. Pofsky obviously did the best they could once they got to that point. I'm not sure what was up with the fingerprint. It just seemed like I need to make any mission progress I can. But it somehow worked out. I think the real giveaway was Kuma Kid had a low light go to center statues late. And maybe was worried about Pofsky's late swap going off, or maybe was rethinking the low light, whatever it was. They seemed to have good control of the party until the very end, looked away from the ambassador at exactly the wrong time, and Pofsky escapes unscathed. Such a close match against the up-and-coming Kuma Kid, who almost scored a huge upset.
Yeah, the end there, the briefcase pickup almost looked like a misclick to me, entering the conversation and probably wanting to get the flirt off immediately. However, it works out because it gives Pofsky a reason to go over to the ambassador, right? When you're in that last beeping 25 seconds, you're looking who's walking over to the ambassador to set up for the bug. If someone's carrying the briefcase, they kind of have a reason to do it other than I want a bug. So
No,
it
you're
kind of works
absolutely
out.
right. And if you're confident that they don't have a first fingerprint already, and Kuma Kid has been tracking that, remember, multiple highlights on Pofsky for getting the first fingerprint of the game, I believe it was. So pretty good chance they are tracking it. If you know for a fact that that's their first fingerprint of the game, if anything, you're tempted to write them off completely because who would get their first fingerprint in the waning seconds like that, right? Unless it was leading into a bug, exactly as you say. I think it's one of those things where the weird counterintuitive play might have worked out just right. And by the skin of their teeth, Pofsky comes away with the win. Kuma Kid, all that effort, technically for nothing that won't be involved in tiebreakers, but those could come up. But certainly, though, a very impressive effort from Kuma Kid to hang in there and nearly pull out at least a tie or even a win.
Yeah, fantastic round. We saw both players, I think, evolve their gameplay throughout the set, kind of learning the other player there and making adjustments. So, good mark of two very good players.
Yeah, what an ending. Two great matches today. Again, if you missed this one, you can probably still see it on screen there. Pofke survives Kuma Kid 7-5. And in the first match, a live match, Pone Noob defeats Magic Doer 1 9-3 in their first match of the Winter Cup. And a lot of other matches are happening right now in the lobby if you want to go watch them, I believe. This is the weekend, and you see a lot of Winter Cup matches over the weekend. I did not introduce myself before, but my name is Warning Track, and my lovely co-caster and host has been Screw Loose. Screw, thanks so much for hosting and casting with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for casting and carrying. Sorry to all about some of the technical difficulties, but should get that fixed for next time.
Yeah, thank you very much for bearing with us and for watching. And thank you to all the competitors, as always, for such fine, fine matches. The Winter Cup is ongoing. We are still in the group stages. You can expect more casts on Saturday and Sunday, potentially. So please do tune back in. It'll either be here or on the official Spy Party channel. Follow them both just to be safe. Why don't you? We will bombard you with fun Spy Party content over the next few weeks. Thanks again for watching and have a great night.
Good night.